Good morning, first grade. I thought since we can't be together that I would share some of my favorite Halloween stories with you this morning. This one is called The Halloweener, and it's written by Dave Pilkey, and he's also the illustrator. And I hope you'll enjoy it. The Halloweener. There once was a dog named Oscar who was half a dog tall and 1.5 dogs long. He's a dachshund, a hot dog dog. Because of his unusual shape and size, all the other dogs made fun of him. Wiener dog, they called him. And Oscar did not like it one bit. They're not being very nice, are they? Oscar's mother was no help either. Every morning when the dogs walked off to obedience school, Oscar's mother stood in the front yard, waving and calling out, "Farewell, my little Vienna sausage." All the other dogs laughed and laughed. Not only the dogs, but look at 2 cats are laughing at him as well. Most of the time, Oscar was upset by all this, but not today. Today was Halloween, and Oscar was thinking about other things. All day long at obedience school, Oscar daydreamed about Halloween night, trick-or-treats, and scary costumes. Look at the cats in the window. They're going to play a prominent part in our story. When Oscar got home, he dashed upstairs to start working on his scary Halloween costume. But when he got to his room, a surprise was waiting for him. "Happy Halloween, my little sausage link," said Oscar's mother. "I've made you a costume to wear for trick or treats." When Oscar saw the costume, he nearly fainted. There's our excited Oscar. There's the box. Let's see what would make him faint. And look at his costume. It was a giant hot dog bun, complete with mustard. And guess who was supposed to fit in the middle of it? You're right, Oscar. Oscar did not want to hurt his mother's feelings, so he decided to wear the silly costume. That night, all the dogs on the block gathered to show off their costumes. Everyone was looking quite scary. Then Oscar showed up looking quite frank, like in Frankfurter or hot dog. And there are the other dogs that we have: Dracula, excuse me, a magician, a mummy, and it looks like a dog catcher. Excuse me. When the dogs saw Oscar in his silly costume, they howled with laughter. "Look at Oscar," they cried. "He really is a wiener dog." Poor Oscar was so embarrassed. Wiener dog," laughed the other dogs as they ran off to go trick-or-treating. Oscar tried to keep up with the dogs, but his silly costume kept slowing him down. All night long, the other dogs hounded every treat they could get their paws on. So by the time Oscar got to each house, there was no treats left. That'd make him very sad. Soon trick-or-treating was over, and the dogs walked home past a spooky graveyard. Suddenly, a horrible hissing sound filled the air. The dogs stopped dead in their tracks. Then out of the graveyard rose a ghastly monster. The dogs screamed for their lives. Ah! They dropped their treats and jumped into a nearby pond. The monster moved closer. Please don't eat us, cried the dogs. And he looks very scary, doesn't he? The monster yowled and hissed. Oh, pooh, hoo, hoo, cried the dogs. The monster jumped up and down, and the dogs shrieked, "Somebody save us! Save us!" There's the monster scaring those dogs. Just then, somebody did show up. It was Oscar. Because Oscar was so short, he saw something that the other dogs had not seen. "That's no monster," cried Oscar. And with a loud bark, "Ruff!" Oscar waddled to the rescue. If you look underneath that costume, what do you see? Tail? 2 paws? I wonder who could be under that costume. Oscar chomped and tugged with all his might on that Halloween costume, trying to reveal who was underneath it. Rip! And there, standing in the moonlight, were a couple of ornery cats. Remember when they were peeking in the window and I said they're going to figure prominently in our story? Because look at, they were trying to scare those dogs. "Help!" cried the cats. "We're being attacked by a giant frankfurter!" And off they ran off screaming through the graveyard. The dogs in the pond had seen the whole thing, and now it was their turn to be embarrassed. "We've been chased into a pond by a couple of cats," they moaned. "Oh no!" But Oscar was a true friend. He leaped into the water and swam out to the dogs. Oscar's silly costume made a wonderful life raft, and the dogs climbed up. "All aboard," Oscar called, and he dog paddled all the way back to shore with all the dogs on it. When they got back to dry land, all the dogs shared their Halloween treats with Oscar, as good friends should, right? Because Oscar had been so brave, the dogs changed his nickname from Wiener Dog to Hero Sandwich. And from that night on, nobody ever made fun of Oscar again. And they all say to us, "Happy Halloween." The end. I hope you liked that one. Now we have another one, and it's called Stumpkin. And this is by Lucy Ruth Cummins. One name on the cover means not only is she the author, but she's also the illustrator. And the author, as you know, wrote the story. The illustrator does the pictures in the story. And if you look at the cover, what you see is half of a pumpkin. But look what he's missing. You're right, he's missing that stem. It was a few days before Halloween. Outside a little shop in a big city, a shopkeeper placed some pumpkins on the shelf. A girl came and looked at the pumpkins. When she was done, she picked one up and carried it away. other pumpkins worried after their friend. But later they spotted him. And look what he became. That's right, a jack-o'-lantern, and he's in someone's window. And the other pumpkin spotted him across the street way up high in the apartment building. He was a jack-o'-lantern. Beneath his lovely stem, he now had 2 triangle eyes, a nose, and a giant toothy smile. He had a new home, a perch all to himself, high above the street. What more could anyone ask for, thought the pumpkins. They were thrilled for their friend, and thrilled that they too might one day be jack-o'-lanterns. They were all happily lost in thought, imagining themselves as jack-o'-lanterns, when one pumpkin realized something was very wrong. And look at poor little pumpkin, poor little stemless pumpkin with just a stump, not a stem. Poor little stumpkin. Still, there was plenty to like about Pumpkin. He was a handsome pumpkin, as orange as a traffic cone. He was as big as a basketball and twice as round. Shem. Who knows? Some people might even prefer a stemless pumpkin. Days passed and more people came, and some pumpkins left. And some pumpkins stayed, and you can see our stumpkin is right here. It wasn't yet Halloween. There were still plenty of windows that needed jack-o'-lanterns in that apartment building. Who would be lucky enough to take home Stumpkin? As orange as an orange, as big as a basketball, round. He was very nearly the perfect pumpkin. Very nearly, truly. Except he's missing that one important part. Isn't that what most people go look for, is a perfect stem to their perfect pumpkin? The next day, new people came. And look at, even the kitty cat is trying to make Stumpkin look even more as a good choice, right? And the shopkeeper's cat settled on Stumpkin's smooth top, saying, "Look it, I'd make a nice decoration if you have a cat at home." And then it happened. A brilliant baby chose Stumpkin. Until a dog ruined it. And the baby changed his mind. So instead of choosing our Stumpkin, he chose the little one. But it has a stem. Oh, well, thought Stumpkin, and look at, we're down to last two. Looks like a gourd and our round pumpkin without the stem. It was the day of Halloween. There were still a few empty windows, so our pumpkin's still a little hopeful. Two were left on the shopkeeper's shelf. A boy came in. And when the boy left, let's see if he chose a Stumpkin. No, he chose the gourd instead, and look at Stumpkin remains. The gourd? Thought Stumpkin? I guess that's that. So now he feels a little sad. It was Halloween night and the shop had closed. There were no more days left until Halloween because tonight is Halloween. Look at all the jack-o'-lanterns. Even the gourd is a jack-o'-lantern in the window. The shopkeeper scooped up poor Stumpkin and carried him off. I wonder what he's going to do with him. We just have a blank page here, all dark. And then we see, what kind of shape is that? That's right, a triangle. And now how many triangles? That's right, 2 of them. Well, do you think you know what he's doing to our Stumpkin? Stumpkin wouldn't be getting a window, and he wouldn't be getting a new home, like all those other jack-o'-lanterns in the apartment windows. Because he already had a home. And that made Stumpkin very happy. And see, he's back on the shelf at the store, but he's with the cat, a bowl of candy, and look at all the trick-or-treaters. The end. And I have one more story to share, because for the next couple holidays that we have coming up, after Halloween is Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving is Christmas, and it's going to feature the same character. So I thought we would start with our Halloween one, and then each holiday we can share one of the other ones in the series. And this one is called The Super Tiny Ghost. It's written by Marilee Joy Mayfield and illustrated by Caddy Flores. Once there was a super tiny ghost. He booed and screamed and moaned the most. But no one noticed he was there. Not even children paused to share. He tried with all his tiny might to scare them in their beds at night. But they had just thought he was a sheet with big black eyes and hidden feet. And that's right, they're rhyming words. He made a list of things to try to make the humans scream and cry. But everything he tried to do backfired and made him feel blue. And his list of things to do is turn the TV off and on, make it chilly indoors, make the knobs turn around and around and around, and make the doors squeak. He watched the witches with their cats and listened to the vampire bats. He tried to learn their ghastly tricks by watching monster horror flicks. He wanted to be really spooky, but he came off strange and oddly kooky. Being a ghost just isn't any fun if you can't make people scream and run. He even went to scary school to study being mean and cruel. But when he tried to terrify, they paid no mind, which made him cry. It would soon be time for Halloween, and in his heart he had a dream. He wanted to be wild and frightening, with boos like thunder and eyes like lightning. So he floated softly through the door of the local party costume store. Everyone would scream and race away when this new scary ghost came out to play. They had scary monsters and hairy beasts, vampires, zombies, and voodoo priests, creepy spiders and spell-casting witches, and mummies all wrapped up in stitches. He picked the best costume off the last rack and stuck it inside a trick-or-treat sack. When he tried it on in the dressing room, he was the perfect picture of doom and gloom. He had blood on his forehead and a toothless grin, warts on his neck and bright green skin. He walked like a mummy with a lurching pace. Only a mother could love that face. Looks pretty creepy. When he went back out into the store, people screamed and ran for the door. Now he was ready to frighten and scare. No one would laugh now. They wouldn't dare. A few days passed. It was Halloween night. The streets were lit by jack-o'-lantern light, and the humans in costumes, both young and old, wandered into the dark, crisp autumn cold. The tiny ghost had the best disguise, but much to his horror and great surprise, no one he met screamed or ran away. They just thought he was there to play. Because look it, he looks just like the other creatures roaming about in the night. And each one is saying, "Hi, Frankie," for Frankenstein. Except for one tiny baby, her eyes went wide. She let out a piercing scream, and then she cried. And suddenly the super tiny ghost felt so sad. Making this baby scream made him feel real bad. So he stopped for a moment and took off his head and popped out with his tiny ghost head instead. Then the baby started laughing and he felt complete. She patted his round head and gave him a treat. And that is the end of our story. I hope you enjoyed the stories. Have a great Halloween, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.